I have a couple of motions I would like to make as amendments to this.
No motions.
Clearly,
No motions will be
conference committees, do have an opportunity for people to amend a bill.
No, there's no motion.
So I want to be able to present those.
No, there's no motions. No, there's none. No. The great state of Wisconsin has been under Republican control, complete Republican control, since 2011. And Republicans' absolute power in the state has led to some amazing displays of force there.
You're interrupting a roll call. Sit down. Right now. Call the roll.
Senator Carpenter. Coles. Cullen.
You're interrupting a roll call, and that will not be tolerated. Sit down.
We learned later that he actually broke the base of the gavel by banging it around like that night. Amazing. And it's entertaining to watch in a way, at least as a sort of spectacle. But in practical terms, Democrats in Wisconsin almost cannot stop anything that the Republicans want to do because Republicans have a lock on Wisconsin state government. And it turns out a lot of what Republicans want to do with their lock on Wisconsin state government is try to change the rules in the state to make sure that they can stay in power for as long as possible. In the presidential election this year in Wisconsin, the state voted for President Obama. Mitt Romney picking Wisconsin Republican Congressman Paul Ryan as his running mate didn't help statewide, and the Democrats won the state by a 7-point margin. But if you only counted up the vote before Election Day, if you only considered the votes of early voters in Wisconsin, they were even more blue than the rest of the state. President Obama won the state overall by 7 points, but he won early voters by 17 points. In Wisconsin, as in most places, if you voted early, you probably voted Democratic. So obviously that's got to go, right? Before Republicans took control of the state government in Wisconsin, there was plenty of opportunity to early vote. Early voting lasted 3 weeks, and it always included 3 full weekends ahead of Election Day. Once Republicans took control, they cut that 3-week early voting period down to 2 weeks, and instead of 3 weekends for early voting, they cut it down to 1 weekend. But that is not enough, apparently, because last night in Wisconsin, on the last night of the legislature before they shut down the session, Republicans at the very last minute sprung a new bill to cut down early voting even further. So they've already cut it from 3 weeks down to 2 weeks and from 3 weekends down to 1 weekend. Last night's bill will cut it further so there will be no weekends at all. And probably no chance for most people to get there after work during the week either. The bill they sprung on everybody last night would force every county clerk in the state to shut down early voting at 5 p.m. on every weekday and offer no weekends at all. So no voting after work, no voting on weekends. The Republicans moved that last night on the last day of the session, and they rammed it through on a party line vote. Wisconsin likes early voting. There's never been any kind of problem associated with Wisconsin early voting, unless, of course, you consider the fact that most early voters vote Democratic to be a problem. Last night, Wisconsin Republicans also came up with a novel new twist on the state's draconian new voter ID law. At the same time that the Republicans passed the first big cut to early voting, they also passed a law to require people to show new documentation in order to vote that Wisconsin residents never had to show before, and that not all legal voters in the state have. They passed that bill in 2011. It's been blocked in the courts ever since. But last night, late last night, as the last night of the legislative session crept past midnight and into the wee hours of this morning, the Republicans in Wisconsin came up with a new twist on their voting restrictions. Now, what Republicans want you to do is they want you to have to declare when you vote if you are a poor person. And if you say that you are a poor person, that you do not have the right documentation to show to be allowed to vote because you cannot afford to get that documentation, then you have to sign a form swearing that you are poor. Once you've done that, your ballot will get put in a separate pile from everybody else's, and it will get marked as a challenged ballot. And then later on, local officials will consider your case and decide whether you really are poor and if they're going to count your vote. Sounds fair? Sounds amazing. And Wisconsin Republicans in the middle of the night last night passed that one, too, on a party line vote.